Hi, I hope you're doing well. I'm continuing on my series about my testimony. This is part 4, so if you have not listened to part 1, 2, or 3, please go back. I invite you to go back and listen to those just so that you have the whole story. It's kind of a long and detailed story. And so I'm going to start on part 4 now. So I want to get started on basically, like the big day that Christ revealed himself to me in such a profound way that really spoke to my heart. Sorry. So at the time in November 2021, I was training to run a half marathon. So I was doing a lot of running. You run more when you're training than you actually do for the event. And I would run in the morning, and it was just my time to have time to myself. And I had those other small little, as I like to call them, God nudges when we'd watch that movie. And when my son had said what he said to me about asking me what heaven was, and when I was singing to my daughter, and it just out of nowhere came out to the tune of Jesus Loves Me. And then, so I'm running, training for this half marathon, and the music that I liked to listen to for that was just instrumental music, no lyrics or anything. And there was the playlist that I liked was made by somebody else, and there was just so many songs on it that you never heard the same song twice. That's how many songs were on there, and I liked that. And there was a song that came up that I'd never heard before, because like I said, it's so big you don't hear the same song more than once. And the song that came up was an instrumental version of like the big main triumphant song from the movie Prince of Egypt. And when I was a kid and I was on fire for Christ, before I started having doubts and disappointment, one of my favorite movies was Prince of Egypt. I was just, I was in love with that movie. And, that was another thing that I had not even thought about in forever, in years and years and years, about how much I loved that movie. And it was just another one of those instances that made me feel like God was saying, hey, do you remember me? Because I'm still here, and I remember you. And so for the first time in almost 20 years, I prayed. And I didn't stop running or anything, and I didn't close my eyes. I just simply said in my heart something to the effect of, okay, God, you got my attention, but I'm not really sure what to do with this. And I'm going to need proof that this is really you, and I'm not just losing my mind. But I know that I'm skeptical, and I'm going to need undeniable proof from you. And that's all I said, and I, continued my run, finished my run, and went about my life. And I didn't hear back from him until my next run, which was just a couple days ago, or just a couple days after that, because when you're training for something like a half marathon, you're running like, every other day. So, I went out on this run, and I didn't even, consider the fact that I had prayed on my last run or anything. I wasn't looking. Now when I pray now and I ask God for something, sometimes I'm just looking constantly, and I obsess over, I need an answer right now. But I wasn't looking. I wasn't even, I was just going for a run. And not very far into the run, not very far at all, God spoke to me for the first time in that run. And so basically what happened was, I was running. It was dark outside. The days are short. It was the end of November. The days are short, and so it was dark, and I had a headlamp that I wore on my head to give me light. And I was just running in the neighborhood, and all of a sudden there was a bird that flew up right in front of my face, and because of the flashlight, the bird, it appeared to me like a white dove. It was appeared all solid white because of the flashlight. And the bird was so close to my face that, I could feel the wind from its wings on my face, and it scared me. And the thing about birds is, like, especially if you're running up on them, they're not gonna let you get very close, and they're gonna fly away. Well, this one let me get really close, and when it flew away, it actually flew right up into my face, and it looked like a white dove. Now, I don't know what kind of bird it was, because I never actually saw it without it being right in front of the flashlight. But, it scared me, and I screamed, but stupid me, I didn't even think anything of it. I just like, oh, that was weird. Let me just keep on running. And then when I was very close to the end of my run, I tripped and I fell on the tiniest little imperfection on the sidewalk. Is just, like a quarter of an inch or something. But God made my foot land perfectly so that I would fall, and I fell and busted my knee and hit my head. And that was the moment when I realized that, God was basically saying, you gotta wake up, or you're gonna fall. And that was when I repented. I hobbled all the way back home. I shouldn't say all the way, because I really wasn't that far from home by then, but I hobbled home, and crying and repenting the whole way back home. And so I'm out of time. I really got to wrap this up. I will continue part 5 in my next video. Bye.